Let me say a special good morning to our listeners via Classic Radio 105.5, 105.9. Good morning and welcome. Those of you viewing GBN TV, whether it's Channel 7, Channel 11, or Channel 20, good morning and welcome to another edition of To The Point. Let me say good morning to my social media audience, especially those of you via, of course, our YouTube channel. I think our Facebook pages, those of you who usually view the program there, that is still down for a particular reason. I'm going to get into the whole meat of the matter of it right now, but that is down for now. But you can certainly view us via YouTube channels. All right. Good morning to you once again. And it's Friday. Yes, it's the start of a brand new month, the month of September. I almost forgot it. It's actually my month. It's my birth month. I can imagine I was kind of stumbling on that, right? Anyway, welcome one and all once again to another edition of To The Point. I'm your host, GT. With me this morning, I do have a guest with me this morning. With me this morning, I have Mr. Jude Bartholomew, and he's, of course, the president of the GUT. He's with me this morning, and we're going to talk about lots of issues this morning as it relates to, of course, school is going to be reopened on Monday. Most schools will be open on Monday. And we get into the matter of a lot of stuff that certainly interesting to you, our loyal listeners and viewers. Let's go over to Mr. Bartholomew and say good morning. Good morning to you, sir, and welcome. How are you this morning?
I'm good, thanks. Good morning to our host, good morning to GBN, good morning to our teachers, and good morning to our listening audience right across the diaspora, wherever you are. Good morning to you.
Welcome, sir. And of course, school is going to be reopened on Monday. A vast majority of them is going to be opening on Monday. Anything you want to share as of an opening this morning in terms of letting the teachers, the students, from the GUT point of view, want to share this morning as an opening, if you guess to do so?
So before I do that, as customary, I just want to invoke God's presence and God's Holy Spirit upon this show and ask God for His divine wisdom to carry on.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much.
I want to take the opportunity on behalf of the Grenada Union of Teachers to really and truly welcome our teachers and students back to school. As you know, that the teachers, they are back in school already. This week are doing their planning and everything, getting things together to make sure that when the children come in on Monday, things are in proper order, are in place. And so I just want to take the opportunity to wish the students and wish teachers, the Ministry of Education and everybody a very successful and productive school year 2023.
All right.
And may God to bless us all to do what we have to do.
All right. Let's get into the conversation this morning, because we certainly do have a lot to talk about. My first question I'd like to throw to you in terms of the relationship between the Ministry of Education and the GUT. Tell us about it. What is the relationship like as it stands right now?
Well, as much we are a union, Grenada Union of Teachers, and we strive to have a good relationship with the Ministry of Education and such, because they are involved in education and we are the executors. We are the ones who really disseminate the curriculum and everything, the instructions from the Ministry of Education. What we would want to see from GUT is to regular communication and dialogue with the Ministry of Education. So more or less that we should not be war and fighting against each other, because it's education. You want the best for the nation's children, for our development, for our country's development. So it's better when we work in harmony, in unison, and such that we know each other what we want, that we know where we are going. We know the plans of the Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Education, we sit down and we dialogue. They understand us and we understand them. It is very, very true to say, and I would want to commend the Ministry of Education, the government of Grenada, because they were on the right start in terms of trying to do everything that they can to really provide and look after the needs of the teachers and even of the students. So there is no doubt about that with the new administration in terms of what they started, where we were with pension and with everything we appreciate. But I would just want to say here, not because we agreement with a government or any government, it could be who, that really reports and do all what they can to really and truly move education forward, to look after the needs of our teachers, the pension, the dark salary and everything. There are times and situations, circumstances where there are issues you may not be in agreement with, and it is right in a democratic society to be able to speak. It doesn't mean that you're against the government and such, and people have to be careful and watchful with that. That's we are the guardians and the bastards of society and such, and when we see something probably that is not pleasing or going right, we should be able to speak out, because that's how you protect society and that's how you protect our people. And it doesn't mean that you are against, the government, and that is the sort of weakness with political situations in Grenada, where we're not mature enough, in the sense that when we speak up about a certain issue, this group will feel we are against them and this group will feel we are against them. Our interest is to protect the interests, and the duty from since 110 years old have been looking after the interests of the Grenadian people. We're not only just about salary negotiations and everything. And I would just want to put on record there my all deepest disappointment with the Ministry of Education. I just want to compare it with the previous administration. You can say one thing about the ministry, the past minister, Honorable Eminent Pierre. One thing with her: she met with the Grenada Union of Teachers on a regular basis, on a monthly basis. Even if we had to call an emergency meeting, that she will call the meeting, we'll discuss. Before the reopening of school, she will call a meeting. We may not see eye to eye in agreement with everything, but she met with us and such. And that is what is lacking. And our biggest disappointment and such, we are a bit saddened by that, because we really do respect the new administration. We really do respect and appreciate the Minister for Education and persons, but what is lacking there is that from since the Jude had elections, once we have ever met, and that's with the previous administration, our new elected bodies, we wrote the Ministry of Education and the minister and everybody several times. And I think the last engagement we have, subject to correction, was either October or December. That's the last time the duty got an engagement with the Ministry of Education or the minister. It is not right, and that's why we must have all those sort of confusion or chaos and misunderstanding, misconceptions when we touch, and the way that we can deal with it is probably coming on the air saying something. It is not right at all, and I'm very, very disappointed, and I think the duty is disappointed, because we wrote the Minister for Education, we wrote the Ministry of Education. The first letter we wrote to them was to introduce them to our new officers, elected officers. When you have elections, the duty, all right, it is customary that the Ministry of Education, these are the people that they'll be working with, negotiating with, putting together plans and events. And we never had an engagement from since April. We wrote back another letter again, we keep calling and everything, and that never happened. And I could say we are disappointed. We are really, 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 really disappointed. So we don't know the plans of the Ministry of Education for this year's school year as yet. I mean, they may have sent it to principals, they may have sent it to other persons in school, but they have not really sat down with the Grenada Union of Teachers and discuss events and plans for the year and see if we can trash out differences and all those things. So we're not bashing them, but what we want to see, we want to have a good relationship, an excellent relationship. We may not see eye to eye in everything. We may not agree on everything. We know that there will be differences in any organization, in every institution. But we are calling on the Ministry of Education to do better than that and to dialogue with us, to meet with us. Let us plan, let us trash out our differences, hear the grievances, the cries of the teachers, the issues, and let us commend you and appreciate you for the good works that you have been doing in so far with the pension, with paying some of the benefits to our members and to those things. Yes, we deal with that and we balance the equation. But we put in a record here, our biggest disappointment, only one engagement we had from since the new administration came into power and such, and one meeting we had with the Ministry of Education as a union, and that is not good enough. And that didn't also happen with the previous Minister for Education. Right. She met all the time.
All right. Let me also ask you this. What are some of the main issues that your union is facing with the start of the new school year?
Well, the start of the school year, we had problems previously with schools, the repairs and such. getting furnitures and all those things for our students. We had Montrose SDA, the comprehensive school, that was under repair, new building for a long time. So I think they met and tried to trash it out. I think the main issue now was the furniture, but that school was just there sitting idly by as a new building, and the teachers were frustrated, students were frustrated, and everything like that. Teachers for CXC and everything had to be buying all their own things. They had to be going in other schools for labs and doing all these things. They were really, really frustrated, crying out. And so it doesn't make sense. You building schools, you have new buildings. Bishop College was in that situation. I think that has been fixed. But Montrose SDA was in that situation. We have St. Andrew's Grenville Academy that is there in a situation. They're looking for a new building, and they have to teach the curriculum, teach the children secondary and all those things. And what is happening to them, they have to be going in other schools for labs doing that. They're getting wet in the school, water coming down on them. And so nobody is really and truly hearing the cry. So we put it on record here. That's St. Andrew's Christian Academy. They really need a new building, and they need it quickly. You have St. David's Secondary School going through some situations there in that school, that building, for a long period of time, for years upon years. So we know that they're trying, but it's time for we see some more going on in a school like St. David's Catholic Secondary School. And there are a lot of other smaller schools and institutions that go into some problems. Some schools, the male and female toilet is just one. You have teachers going in using the same toilet facility as students is not good enough and such. And we're not saying all those burdens came from this administration, but government is continuum and continuous. And so what we're saying, we're asking them to try to really do what they have to do to really alleviate. So we have some problems and some situations that we're going to talk as we go along with the program.
All right. I also want to ask you, in terms of the improvement of school facilities and other issues for both teachers and students, what is the latest in terms of the issue? It kind of rolls into my previous questions. You know, we understand teachers are working in substandard facilities and so forth. What is your union take on that?
Well, as a union, we health and safety is of paramount importance. But knowing our teachers, and that's why the nation, we don't understand probably the nation, we have to be very grateful and appreciative to our teachers, because people think it's only salary and those things, and we come out and think, but there are a lot of sacrifices that the teachers make working in substandard situations, and we take it just for the needs of the children because the teachers love the children. There are a lot of times the teachers will spend all the monies that they have to buy things for labs, to buy things for this, to do this and do the other. Nobody talks about it. All right, the furniture, the school, the environment, the building, the working environment. Teachers take those things and they don't make noise all the time. When the teachers cry, something have to be really, 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 really bad. Because I think foremost and paramount important for all members is our children. We really look forward. Teachers is a blessing. The job that we do, we always say no monies could pay for it. Our teachers will go the extra mile. If the teachers' children are missing something, they're missing a table, they're missing a chair, the teachers don't even care if they have to buy one and make one, but they will be there. Most teachers, or all the teachers, will already go the extra mile. It doesn't mean that all is well, but whatever the circumstances of the situation, teachers throughout the length and breadth of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, they make the sacrifice, improvise, do all that they have to do on a daily basis, things that the nations don't really see. Sometimes the parents really don't know and really don't appreciate, but I think this is a call for us as a nation to rally beyond the duty and to rally beyond our teachers and such, because once the teachers will always make the extra mile and go beyond the extra call of duties to make sure that the children learn and to do what they have to do.
All right. We drew for a break, Mr. Bartholomew. Let's take that break. When we come back, we got some other pressing issues that I want to discuss with you, but we do so right after the break. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point for today, Friday. We're coming right back.
This is your ocean. If I am to protect your future, we have to work together. It's the time to work together. If I am to help protect your future. Once I used to be so pure and clean, and those hills were so fresh and green. But now you see me as your dumping ground. The current situations has me choking on your pollution. Think hard about Recycle OECS. Green actions, blue oceans. For blue oceans and our betterment.
The Grenada Dental Association, with support from the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, Great Shape Inc., Spice Isle Smiles Foundation, and Sandals Foundation, present Seal Grenada, sealing children's permanent teeth between the ages of 6 to 18, from August the 28th to September the 1st, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. daily at the current government school in St. David. For more information, call 421-6021. Seal today. Prevent decay tomorrow.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. It's To The Point for today, Friday, the first day of September within the year 2023. And my guest this morning is Mr. Jude Bartholomew. He's the president of the GU team. Mr. Bartholomew, welcome back to the program this morning.
Before we proceed, though, I just received a message from, I guess, some union stating that they are not being seen live on Facebook or something. So
yes, I did mention in our opening that there's a bit of an issue with our Facebook page, so do not. But we on our YouTube channels, they can view it via the YouTube channels.
Okay.
All right. You can also go to the YouTube channels and view the program via live. So I have another question that has been a bit controversial. You know, in mid-August, you did raise the possibility of the LGBTQ issue becoming part of the school curriculum, and that was reported right here on GBN, and has since drawn, you know, heavily public discussion and criticisms. I have a couple of questions that I would like to ask, and I hope you could answer them for me. What were you told by teachers regarding this issue? That's one. B, what is the stance of the Grenada Union of Teachers on that particular issue? Have you since spoken to the Minister of Education for clarity on that particular issue? And what are the chances worldwide do you see LBG becoming part of the Grenada school curriculum in the near future? Those are my questions I would like to ask. If you could answer them for me, please.
All right, so these are some tactful questions there, and I have to be able to tread cautiously. So I ask for God's wisdom there to be able to tread cautiously. If I forget anyone, then you will just rehash them. Just to go back, as I said, there was a summer workshop with the Grenada Union of Teachers. So I don't think that the workshop basically was government, but planned by the Grenada Union of Teachers and CTF. And I did receive a call from teachers expressing their genuine concern. I think somebody was supposed to come there to talk about violence and such, and gender based relationship. And whoever did it went in another direction. And I think what came up is that they started expressing about persons, I guess students and other persons. A male basically can feel different and can be a female, and female can be male and other. And I think that's where it went down the road, and the teachers did not take it too happy when that sort of trend went down. And so I guess the teachers have an idea in what were already coming. So they were talk in the air. It could be rumors that we're not saying that this present administration is responsible or want to implement LGBTQ curricula in schools. They will talk about that from since even the previous administration. In fact, you have been hearing that some funding, and that is subject to correction here, say that some administration, whether or not a government, would have probably received some funding for some curriculum or whatever. So we have no 100% clarity, and that government or previous administration could come out and clear the air whether or not they did receive funding and such to facilitate anything in the curriculum for schools. That's what I think. But I think where the teachers didn't take it nicely is when the conversation, as I said, I wasn't there. That's when I received the call stating, and the direction went down that basically male if you're a male, but you can feel otherwise. And if you're a female, you can feel otherwise and other. And I think teachers, knowing that we are a Christian-based society and that God, and that's the fabric and the basic of our society, felt in no way, if those things have to come in school and they have to teach that they would not do it. And I think that is what they express. So we are not certain with clarity that this government had any intention I did receive a call from the Minister for Education. I was abroad, I was away, and he did plan for a meeting for us to meet. We were not able to meet as yet, probably sometime next week, to bring some clarity into the matter. The government, the Minister for Education did say no uncertain terms that they had no intention to really introduce such in the curriculum or to change the laws of Grenada. So all I want to put on record here and to make it clear and straight that we respect person's personal life. So from my perspective and from the GUT and the Grenadian citizenry, you cannot tell people how to live their life privately. All right, we respect anybody with a gay, lesbian, LGBTQ. We respect them. We want the society to respect them, to love them. God said to love everybody, and that's what we want. We want to put on record, and I want to put on record here, that we don't want any violence against anybody because of their sexual orientation or differences. That is a no-no. We have to treat everybody with respect. But we also, at the same time, I will say that we stand as the GUT and as the president, and I think the nation as a whole, we have to be careful if, and we're not saying that will happen. And I heard the conversations from various angles. Well, what about the children should know, and the students should know about the differences of people and such, and they should have an idea, which is good in itself. What we don't understand, and that is the reason why God gave us wisdom as a people. And therefore, when we hear those things as a nation, we have to be tread cautiously and not jump into whether you NDC or NNP or political affiliation. We have a nation to safeguard. We have a nation to build. And one of the easiest way of basically, you can say, destroying our nation is to get at our children. Once you infiltrate or you inculcate certain habits and behavior in our children, then it spreads throughout the whole nation. And so even if you teach certain things and it may not be well intentioned and such, it may be indirectly that you want our students to know about gay, lesbian, you want them to know about choices, you may want them to know about others. We're not saying that that's where the government and Ministry of Education want to go, but indirectly, you could be telling them and sending a signal to them in otherwise that if you know about that and you appreciate that, indirectly, you can be that too. And so what we're saying that our teachers are saying, regardless of what we want our government, we have a good government. The NDC administration has started well and been doing some great works. So it's not that we are against or we thinking that. We want to just make it clear to them as a Christian principle, a Christian foundation and bedrock of our society, that we respect how people live their private life, if you live in your private life. But when it comes to our laws and institutions of our country, we want to say our constitution doesn't support that. It doesn't support that. Male and female, God made them all, and all our laws are designed so far. So we want to ensure that those things do not infiltrate our school curriculum. We want to make sure if our students learn certain behaviors on the outside, that's their private life. If our big people or our workers or institution learn certain behaviors on the outside, that's their private business. Are we not against that? But when it comes to our laws and our society as a whole and in our school, we've seen that our teachers are saying in conscience, they will not be able to teach certain things. So what we're saying to the government or any government, a signal that we're just saying to them, they have to be careful how they tread in, because whatever they do and whatever they think, it will have consequences for our students, for our nation. And there are certain things that you give out anything, you would not be able to take it back, even if you are well intended. So we're asking our government to be cautious, and our teachers are seeing it, and our students, and we have to be careful what we expose our children to. We know that they can know about it in any way. You have Facebook, you have phones, you have this. But on a national basis, through our laws must not sanction things, and our education system that is not right in the basic foundation of God. Outside of that, privately, our people, if they do what they want, that is their personal life and their personal business, and we must love them. We may not like what they do, but we must love them and we must treat them with utmost respect. And we say no violence against anybody based on their lifestyle. And that's where we live.
All right. I guess that clears the air from the duty point of view on that matter there on this segment for now. Let's move on. Let's talk about the introduction of multigrade teaching, without proper training and discussion. I think that is having sort of a bit of a negative effect, especially on students and teachers. Give us the GUT's perspective of this in terms of the introduction of the multigrade teaching. Give us your perspective on that.
Yes, this multigrade teaching in school is becoming a problem. and how it is done again and say, we're having a problem with the Ministry of Education because there is no dialogue. It seems that the Ministry of Education is just bypassing the union and such, where that's the body that are negotiating agent for our teachers, for its members. So anything that affects the teachers, it affects us. And so there is no dialogue. There is no training for multi-grade teaching. All we've been hearing is that principals have been calling the union, calling me and complaining. And to add insult to injury, you're not getting any official documents or any official letter from the government or from PSC or from the Ministry of Education to say, well, that is the direction that you ought to go. What principals are saying that they're just saying DUs are calling them. And we're not too sure under the Constitution, under the Education Act, if DUs have those sort of powers to just call like in school and to say, well, we go in that direction and multi-grade teaching, and to tell principals that they have to implement that and forcing their way into principals. A lot of principals are grieving and hurting, and probably because of the situation, some of them, they don't have a prominent status. They just think they can't really say anything more or less to just execute what the ministry say and what DU say, and it is becoming a plague with DUs just going into schools. Yes, they have their function, but just saying to them, telling teachers and principals, you have to do this and you have to do that. Now, multi-grade teaching, now this thing, what parents, I want the parents and nation to understand where we're going. We're not making noise for noise sake. What we're trying to do is to protect their children. Because if you have different classes, you have a grade 3 and a grade 4, even if the class is sort of small, but you're merging them together. Teaching never recommend that. The psychological effect and everything, the curriculum is designed based on your age range. And so you're taking now a grade 3, which might be probably 8 years, and you're taking a grade 4, you're taking a grade 5 or a grade 4 and 5 and merging them together. Different curriculum coverage. That is confusion at chaos here. And if the teachers have not received the adequate training, schools have not prepared for that, what you go in there is to create problems for the students. You're going to frustrate the nation's children. And you're going to frustrate the nation's teachers. And that's what we're saying. They are no to that. The government, the Ministry of Education, sit down and discuss, dialogue. See how we can solve that problem. We know that the population in school is decreasing in certain schools. Now, we're looking at the ratio of teachers to students. That happened. The Grenada Union had to sit down and basically dialogue and negotiate with the government and the Ministry of Education, because there were one period of time when there were 50 children in a class, no control. You had classrooms where in the primary school, 35 students to one teacher, 45 students to one teacher. Imagine that you just have to teach, you have to correct one teacher teaching all the subjects. Now, there was no division of labor. So all the work and heavy load was on the teacher. So we had to say a no to that and put a sort of framework where you have control. So you have a maximum amount, basically, for the pupil-teacher ratio. So it became in the preschool, I think that it was 12, either 12 or 15 subjected to correction. How many students you can take in at a particular time, so that you don't leave one teacher classroom with 35 or 25 little children to deal with. It was too much. And so that's why we came up with the thing, the ratio now. You have in the primary school, upper primary, 25 students to one teacher. And that's where the thing, that it was because of that situation where the school was overpopulated, overloaded, and there are some schools where parents, and you can't blame them, where they prefer to send their children in one school, school A, than school B. What you're seeing is that the population of schools children have been decreasing. So either we encouraging the parents to make more children, to probably make more children, are we asking the probably now to let's revise that. And probably now is an opportunity. If you used to take 12 children in the preschool, you can go back now and revise it and say, well, you see the population is dwindling. Schools are suffering with numbers. So let's take 15 and let's take 20, which might rectify the situation so you have balanced classroom. So when you have classrooms that are now a little smaller, and let me say to the nation, that was for the maximum, just to protect our teachers and the class size. Because when a class size, you had 35 and 40 children in it, there is no way that the teacher could give the students individual attention. The slower children, it means that you just have to put work. By the time you're done, you have to correct. You cannot give the children individual attention. It is better for the school. I mean, the Ministry of Education, the government should be happy. Even if you have smaller classes right about now, then it's better better for you in one sense because the teachers now will be able to give the students individual attention. And there are a lot of children. It is not that anything is wrong with them. It's just that they are slow. And most of the times what they need is individual attention. So if you have 12 children in a class, there is nothing wrong. There was one time when the same teacher used to have 35 and 40. So it can be to the teacher's disadvantage one time when once upon a time they had 35 and 40. And now because now we're coming down to 15, 16, 17, give the teachers a break and say, well, you used to have 35 and 40. No, take your time with the 15 or with the 12 or whatever, and we want you to work the miracle. Spend time now. There's no excuse. If you have a small class, then you should be able to deliver and to deal with the individual attention of the students. But to what is causing to add insult to injury, what the Ministry of Education is done do now, they find some of the numbers small. So instead of appreciating that in some schools, the children might very much need the help, and therefore the class is small and it's to the advantage of the children and better for the student and teacher to dialogue and to teach and to disseminate knowledge. They go in there now and try to say, well, no, we cannot allow that because it's too small for the teacher. Let's work for them on all those things. So what they want to implement is the multi-grade now, creating problems for the students. And some students really need the individual attention and the small class size. They're going to be frustrating our teachers. It's going to be frustrating our students. It's going to frustrate our parents and such like that. And teachers, you don't want to lose your teachers because of those things. And our teachers, they cannot deal with it, and principals cannot deal with it. Let's meet, let's dialogue as union, principals, teachers, Ministry of Education, and let's see how we can sit down and best resolve this situation where you have dwindling classes and see how we can fix it for the betterment of the government of Grenada. Because what we want as a nation, we want the children to learn. We want, you say you're going transformation in education. You want the children to learn. You want to develop our country. And the only way you can do that is education. It plays a paramount and very, very important role in going forward. So we can resolve that without going into multi-grade teaching and without frustrating our teachers and frustrating. The government don't want our teachers to be frustrated and to be lashing out. That's the last thing the government of Grenada would want. And I think the NDC administration knows that, as well as the NNP administration. The last thing you would want is our teachers becoming frustrated, getting vexed and mad, because you know the record and the history of the Grenada Union of Teachers, and you know our teachers well.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying.
Let me also ask you this. This is another question I've been pondering for a wee bit. You know, the issue of regularization of teachers, that has been a constant over the years, you know, with, you know, various administrations. How is this issue, how is the issue proceeding at this time? And how many teachers have been regularized over the past few years? How many teachers remain unregularized?
There's about 500 teachers still on the temporary books, and those things in 2015 and in 2017 we had regularization. But after that, it has not taken place. And I could tell you that our teachers are really frustrated. The hardest set of working people in the school are the temporary teachers. They're doing everything, the sacrifices, the dedication. These are the teachers who teach CPA. They take part in the fair. They take part in school building. They take part in every activity. You have the knowledge bowl. You have the this, you have the that. You have to go in a sporting activity, choir and everything. Who the school call on, who the government, the Ministry of Education call on. The same temporary teachers who are doing all the work. And so they're doing everything, and they are frustrated because some teachers there for 15 years. Some teachers, so we want the nation to understand, it's not an NNP thing or NDC thing. Teachers and public officers have feelings too. And based on the laws of Grenada, and precedents have been set, is after 2 years, if you in basically a space, so you have a space there, you have a space, so you're not squatting. All right, and there is an open space for you to be prominent. After 2 years and you're working hard, the principal and the school, they are confident, they're satisfied in the work that you have been doing, then they recommend, and after 2 years, you became prominent. And can you imagine, even the Deacon Mitchell administration, in his campaign and everything, he was talking about that and saying, well, this is wrong and we really have to fix it. And so it's not about it, that going on for too long. The teachers are frustrated, they can't go to the bank. They can't get a loan. They're stagnant. They don't know. So who is depriving the teachers and the public workers, the public officers of going forward with their life? It's government. And government that should be paving the way for you and to making life easier for you. So they're making life harder for those teachers and those public officers who for all these long years, 15, 14 years, they're temporary. So we're calling on the Deacon Mitchell, Honorable Deacon Mitchell administration, the Ministry of Education, DPA, to act expeditiously, to act quickly. The teachers are crying out. And the best thing this government could ever do, they did pension, they did very well, the teachers are happy. They restored the dark salary, the teachers are happy. They did a lot of things that is very, very good. If this government, wise and smart, if they want to hold and really and truly cement their position in Grenada here, regularization of teachers and public officers. And I say regularization with compensation. We have 106 teachers that are waiting. Since under the previous administration, they went to the vetting, everything is there. There is nothing to hold back on. All they had to do is to give the okay to regularize. I know the new government said that they want to think regularization with pension reform. But these teachers and public officers, they were in the system long before. So if they were regularized within the 2 years as how it used to be, they would have been permanent teachers and permanent officers long. So that shouldn't be a holdback for them because of pension reform, because they fall inside before 2024. And so what I'm saying, just for justice must be done. Social and economic justice must be done to our teachers who are temporary for so long and working hard and everything together with public officers. All the regularization may not be done at the same time, and one expect that because of the backlog and everything, whether teachers or public officers. But do what you have to do. And I'm a little bit disappointed because the government did say by June of this year, regularization would have been started. So I went as the union GUT went and talked to our teachers and say, well, have some patience. Hold on still. We've been doing that since the previous administration. But this administration said by June, they're going to start the regularization process. So when I put my credibility on the line and I go to my members and I say, the government said, hold on, the Ministry of Education, the government of Grenada said, regularization is going to start in June. Have some patience and wait a while. The teachers are waiting and they're watching June pass, and they were bubbling up. And when June came, the teachers were the happy set of people because they thought by the beginning of June or June 23rd or whatever, when was the government's 1 year anniversary, that they would have heard something about regularization. And teachers wept. Teachers cried. There were people who were taunting the teachers and who saying, you see, that's good for you. All you're going to do this and all you're going to do that, and where's the regularization? And teachers were crying and weeping. We don't want that to happen to this administration. This administration, based on what we observe, is a good administration. They're trying their best. Let's get back and focus and regularize the teachers and make it right. Make it right. So the union put its credibility on the line by telling its members to hold on. The government is going to regularize and they're going to start by June. And the teachers would call afterwards, Mr. President, where is the regularization that the government said? You said to us, hold on and wait by June. When June comes now, the burden is upon me. It's upon me to explain to them and such. So what I don't want from a government, when you put your credibility on the line and you tell your members, the government says that they're going to do that at such and such time, I don't want the government breaking it and such and putting the union or duty in a hot spot or any other union for its members. So I would want to say to the government, let's correct that around and move expeditiously to regularize our teachers and regularization with compensation. You cannot allow, I expect, a teacher temporary for 15 years, denying them of salary increases and increments, denying them of all the benefits, no increment for these teachers and public officers when you're temporary. No. It means the only time you receive salary increases is when you get salary increases from the government, they get the 4%. But on an incremental scale, every year for that 15 years, they're not getting anything. So it's a great social injustice. The church talk about social and economic justice, and it's going to be really, really wrong and unfair and unfortunate. If you regularize, we're not saying that the government may in a position to compensate, full compensation for all that years, but they must give the teachers and public officers some due form of compensation. We can sit down again and dialogue and see how best to go with that. But the teachers can't go empty-handed for all these years that they have to be deprived. Even in the court, when something goes wrong and you have been denied of justice, the court give you some form of compensation to make up. And that's what we're saying. If the government doesn't have all the monies, they can do a number of different things. They can give compensation. They can give the teachers a piece of land. They can mix it up. They can give some form of tax reprieve. They can give some form of duty-free concession. They can give finance and other things to make up. They may not be able to give everything, but they must do something to make up for all these last grounds that these teachers would have had, for the damage that have been done with them, keeping back their family. The family have been kept back. They're trying to plan their family. They can't build a home. Can you think about it? If the teachers were prominent for 15 years ago or 12 years ago, or public officers, by now they might have been halfway into finishing paying the mortgage. It means that when you give them prominent now, they just have to start now going and take a loan to start their family. You put them 15 years behind. The nation that did that, governments that did that to its people, 15 years, 12 years, and how many years behind. And so we're saying no to that. And also one thing they can do, even if they regularize the teachers, they can put the teachers on the maximum of the scale. You can start them with what they go through already and put them at the bottom of the scale. Help them and compensate them by putting them at the top of the scale, and do all the government deep. NDC government, you not a bad government, not a bad administration. We have nothing against you in the sense, but we must speak up as a union, as the president of the union. I will not hesitate, because the government pay pension and they pay dark salary, they did a number of things, hesitate to stand idly by. When I have to speak out, we speak out. That's the history of the Grenada Union of Teachers for 110 years. We have navigated the tough waters for the Grenadian citizens, and we want the citizens of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique to have some confidence in the Grenada Union of Teachers. No matter what the situation, we don't only speak for salary increase and march on the street, but we speak for every citizen wherever injustice has been done. That is the legacy from president to president from our union, and will continue to do so regardless of any administration, a political party in power, NNP or NDC.
Mr. Buffalo, let's talk about upgrades. We're talking about teachers who have upgraded themselves to bachelors, have got themselves masters, and as you were speaking in terms of compensation a while ago, tell us how teachers are not, are they receiving that financial compensation for their masters? Also, when you speak a wee bit on job appraisal, especially for teachers, what are some of the problems that involve with that job appraisal for principal problems that they're encountering? Let's speak about that a wee bit.
Right, so can you imagine one teachers, the burden they're going through from one injustice to the next? Because if you're talking about a temporary teacher, you're talking about a temporary teacher now who may have done their masters or their bachelors. You're talking about one teacher who might be facing all these difficulties and not getting compensation. The government of Grenada under the previous administration, really and truly, if you look at it, and we want the nation to sit down and think about it and to listen well, in Grenada, we are really far behind in terms of degrees, in terms of whether masters or bachelors. The other Caribbean countries, Barbados, Jamaica, Trinidad, they are far advanced in the education system with teachers' qualification and everything. And I think that the previous administration and even the previous NDC administration, they recognize that weakness here. And so they try to strike a balance by encouraging teachers to really develop themselves. Go and do a course, do a degree, do your masters, do your bachelors and everything like that. So most of the teachers, they don't get scholarship from the government. They go on their own. That's the creativity of the teacher. The teacher following the instruction from the parents, the Ministry of Education. The teachers developing trust and confidence in the government of Grenada, listening to them and stepping forward with confidence, investing. When you study, this is an investment, in the nation, in nation's children. You take a loan of 100 and 1,000, even more than that. You go and study. You do your bachelors, you do your masters. And when you come back now, nobody want to honor it. To add insult to injury, that could never be right for the nation. It's a form of injustice that the teachers, they go and they study, and most of their studies, they did it in education. If somebody go and do their study in aerodynamics and they want to fly a plane, that is a different thing. But the teachers, most of the teachers do the study in education, and they're not being compensated for it for the masters. And that has been going on under the NNP administration. We've been fighting, and we can't get a reason for that. And yes, this government have been trying to resolve it with persons with a bachelor's and different things, but it's going too slow. We're going too slow. So that's the cry of the teachers. And if we don't do that, and with the masters, it doesn't go in an incremental scale that the money is going to the salary. So that is not a burden on the state in the sense. What is happening? They get an allowance. And if you think about it for a bachelor's or a master's, your salary and your pay is not different from if you didn't go and study. Unless you have a new pay and grade in Grenada. Education and teaching is a real sacrifice and a real injustice that is much lower in Grenada. The pay for teachers in Grenada is much, much lower than other Caribbean countries. When you travel as a union and you're discussing with other teachers and other principals across the region, when they raise up the pay and the salary, the monthly salary, you have to go in your room in your hotel and you have to hide. If they buy a drink or something, so you cannot put it out and match with it. And so in Grenada here, it's the same thing with the pension. Persons didn't understand that our salary is so low. That's why the government giving us pension is not a favor. So if the salary is low already, teachers develop themselves, they do the masters and the bachelors, and the government now should come back and reward them. And if you're giving these people who have done it, you're not compensating them, you're not giving them the $255, it's not much money now. So many teachers do their masters and they cannot even get $255 for a little allowance. How would you build and boost that confidence for the younger generation of teachers to come? You say you want to go forward in transforming education, in transforming the nation. If you want to have a highly developed and skilled society, education is the most important thing that you can do. You must invest in your teachers and you must invest in the nation's children. And the best way by showing example to motivate and to inspire teachers and to set the example for younger teachers to want to go and study to the bachelors and the masters on their own is to compensate. All right, to compensate, and that's what we log in. So we call in, there are a lot of teachers who are crying out there for years upon years, since 2016, 2017, 2018. And you see, when this thing boiled up for a long time and it delay, just as pension, just as this, that, and the other, just as regularization, now it piled up on government so much, they did not do what they have to do. When they check on the amount of money that they have to pay now, they find it difficult to pay. And they always crying out. Sometimes the nation don't understand. The government neglect, and previous administration, they neglect. They did not do what they have to do to honor their own commitments. And when the nation hear the pile of money that they have to pay now, they say all these monies, not knowing that if the government pay the teachers and public officers what is due to them on a monthly basis, year after year, they will not end up in that situation. If regularization had taken place every year, then there is no big bill to pay. And when it's become big and huge, humongous now, it's always falling back on the teachers. Well, the teachers greedy, they cannot get that, we don't have that money, and then unjust. So we call upon the Ministry of Education, the government of Grenada. I'm humbly and respectfully calling on the Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Deacon Mitchell, to keep an eye on the Ministry of Education to ensure that justice prevail, fairness for all. Our teachers, compensate our teachers for those who do their masters and their bachelors, regularize our teachers and public officers. In that way, the whole productivity and everything will set in, it will motivate, a new dispensation, new government. Let's start new. Let's start afresh. Let's all do the right thing. Come together and let justice, social and economic justice prevail. And I'm calling upon the teachers too, when they get the compensation for all of us, to do what we have to do, to teach the nation's children, to make that extra sacrifice as teachers always do. Let's go the extra mile for this year to dig deep, to really and truly teach the nation's children. Let's have a better relationship with our parents, because it's not only the teacher, 3 persons in education there. The teachers, the teachers, parents, and students must work together harmoniously so that education and transformation agenda and everything could be successful for a better nation.
All right. I also asked a question about job appraisal for teachers, job appraisal for principal. Yeah, of course, the problems involved, the problems encountering. If you want to speak on that for a few minutes, because we're strapped for time. I may have to ask for extra 10 minutes because there's so much to talk about this morning. But if you could give me a bit of insight in terms of the job appraisal for teachers, job appraisal for, principals. Give us a bit of the problems that involve there, if you can speak on that.
Yes, thank you so very much. Job appraisal, it seems where it should be. Job appraisal should be something that will help a teacher and public officials to grow and to develop, to blossom with confidence. It must not be used as a weapon against the teacher and against the principal. And that's what we see that is happening in Grenada here. We want the Ministry of Education and we want the government of Grenada to lock down that. When you have job appraisal, you look at weaknesses, you look at strengths. So you look not just at the end of the school year, you just come and you do something and then you give the teacher a failing grade. One of the problems that we have with the Ministry of Education, we find that they're using the job appraisal for the teacher as a weapon. Because if the teacher does well, remember, as your head of department that is really observing you and watching you teach and grading you your duties. The principal will come in at times in your classroom and such, and they would record. They don't do it once. What we see happening, our teachers are complaining and principals are complaining. At the end of the year, if the teacher does well, teacher A does well, and the teacher gets 91, or the teacher gets 97, or the teacher gets 92. The Ministry of Education and even some principals fall victim to that. They find that score is too much for the teachers. So you have Ministry of Education officials calling back school and telling them, how the teacher get that grade too high? See what you can do to cut down on it. And that is wrong. That is demotivating, insulting to our teacher who really works hard. Now, if a teacher doesn't deserve it and you didn't work, then we say something, well, yes, it has to be revised and there will be something wrong in the whole system. But don't tell me, if you have teachers who are committed and working hard and the record could show and they do all that they have to do well and to pass their appraisal, then the Ministry of Education or DO or somebody calling back school and telling them to go back and fix that number too high. And this is the same thing sometimes we do in teaching. Sometimes this is the thing, if you have an exam, and your students get 100%. Sometimes we fall victim to that and they would have, how that student could get 100%, somebody steal or somebody, then we have to take that out of our mind. Our excellence that we are looking for. And we're not using it as a weapon to punish our teachers and our members. And when those things are happening, it means that our teachers, when they look at the appraisal, they would not sign. And this negative report that is going down so many times on teachers, sometimes the teachers didn't even know. Negative report in the Ministry of Education when your finals is on your file. All right, so we want it for fairness for the teachers and fairness for the principal. Don't use the appraisal of our teachers as a weapon against them. Don't do it. And principals now have complained. There is apparently some new OECS appraisal for principals, and I got called for principal. The principal said, what madness is that? It seems now, I think St. Lucia corrected, subject to correction, totally rejected that. Again, the Ministry of Education never discussed that with the Grenada Union of Teachers, never discussed it with principals and other people. They just disseminating things and just putting things in schools, which creating a problem. Now you are hearing, and I'm hearing again, I haven't seen the job appraisal form, but from principals and other persons, they are saying that the new one now, Imanis have to be part of the appraisal team for principals. Cooks have to also appraise. Where you ever hear that? Is the Ministry of Education going backward? The Imanis is not ready and truly. They're in the school system, but they're not part of the public service and everything. They have not been trained or adequately trained to assess or to appraise a principal. Cooks in school have their work to do in the kitchen. You telling me the Grenada Union of Teachers have been trying their best to better the position for cooks because of the situation for it. And you telling me cooks now could turn around. We're not going down on cooks because cooks have been assisting with the good nutrition and everything. They are wonderful people, but the cooks and imanis and such cannot be in the appraisal process. So say they are appraising a principal. I think that is insult to injury, and we're calling on the Ministry of Education to rethink that and to rethink that quickly and to put an end to that. So we say no to that. At the same time, with cooks, I'm putting in a word because the cooks have been crying out to me all the time and to the union. We're not a bargaining agent, but we're speaking for them. They have been sacrificing for all these years. Their pays are too low. The cleaners in schools, their pays are too low. And when coming for pension and such, they're not getting anything. And a lot of them are going home empty-handed, and these people are crying out. So it's not only for teachers and public officers, but I stand here today also putting in a word for even the imanis, the cooks, the cleaners, and the ordinary men and women in our as society to look out for them and do what we have to do best to see how we could alleviate the suffering. But persons in the public domain who serve the public, who serve government, whether they are cooks, whether they are cleaners, whether they're in the health centers, whether in the hospitals, even cooks and persons in the hospital, cleaners, they are complaining about the low salary and what they get. Please do something for all these people so that their life could be better.
All right. Mr. Bartholomew, actually, we due for a break. Let's take it. We really need to take a break. When we come back, I do have another question or two, and I see my phones are going up the hook. I know there are listeners and viewers that may want to ask you a question or two. We may have to take an extra 5 or 10 minutes after, of course, before we wrap this morning. Let's take that break. We're coming right back. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point.
Is giving you more chances to multiply your Playway winnings by adding Multi-X to your regular Playway bets to win up to 5 times more. Imagine winning as much as $1,200 instead of $240 with a $10 Playway bet by simply adding Multi-X. Place your Playway bets from $1 to $10 or in increments on your favorite Playway symbols or numbers. Then add the Multi-X option at the same value to win 2 times, 3 times, 5 times more, or free plays. With Multi-X, you must bet the same amount wagered on your regular Playway bets for your winnings to be multiplied. Grenadians, value your dreams and win your way as much as 5 times more with Multi-X added to Playway and watch your money grow. Must be 18 years or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
The biggest party in sport is back. CPL and WCPL return with more action than ever before.
Are you kidding me?
Watch the biggest names in cricket battle it out in the race for glory.
Brilliantly, celebrate some more.
Get your tickets now at cplt20.com or at the box office. Join the party. Experience cricket played louder.
Grenada's broadcast of Republic Bank CPL 2023 is made possible by Republic Bank. We're the one for you. The National Lotteries Authority, Grenlec, and Hard On Plus.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back, Mr. Bartholomew. We certainly have a whole lot to talk about this morning, but I have a question that I think may be interesting for viewers and listeners, and I certainly hope I could get an answer for you. We also voice you in particular, sir, voice your concern regarding the present government approach of this sending all the CPA students into secondary school system, and you also on record as saying that no consultation, with the Greater Union of Unions before that move was made. Has there since been any discussion on that matter? If you could respond to that.
No, thank you very much for that question. With no consultation thus far and such. And we put on record here, parents, we want you to understand. Every parent will love when the children do CPA to go to secondary school. We're not against that, and we're not here to deprive parents, because that's what we do as teachers. All right, we teach the children, we know they have their exams. What we're saying is that what we observe with this government is well intended. They have a lot of good plans and intentions. This government has a lot of good plans and intention. However, the way that they're doing it could be the problem. We're not against them. NDC or NP, we're not against you. We're not against you in the sense. So when we speak, if you listen to us and you take what we have to say, you will learn something and you will grow better for it. Because we have a lot of young ministers, we have a lot of people there that is young, and probably they are ambitious and everything, and they want to do things for the Grenadian public. And we applaud that, we appreciate that. However, the way that they're probably going ahead and are going about doing certain things, that is the problem. And so if we could dialogue and they could listen, they might learn from it and they might do it better. And we saw that with all the children going to universal education. What we're saying and we observe, the problem in education in Grenada is that we don't really have a long-term planning and long-term goal for education, and that's why we're just spending monies and we're going around in a recurring decimal and we're not reaching any way. Remember, this government is transformation through education, and so we must, if we want to develop our nation, we must have a plan, and that plan is not only for academics. Not every student in Grenada Grenada, every child is really bent towards academics. There must be a blend of skills and a number of different things. And what we're saying is that we observe in the primary school, sometimes children are kept back because you want to improve. They spend another year and such. You build upon them. There are some students, no matter how you try, you can see you're not going down on them, but they're not really bent for all this full and long years of academic and secondary school life. They must learn the basics and everything. And the government now have to cater and pave the way for all those things. You create the atmosphere. So if there were dialogue and consultation with that in terms of universal education, we will say to the government, that could be a plan for long term, a few years to come. So gradually you send the children now who pass and everything. In the meantime, build schools dealing with skills training centers and such in different parishes and such. So you set the platform and the foundation now to facilitate those children who may not really and truly be able to go along in full with all this barrage of subjects and all those things. You teach them the basic, and they might have a flair and a passion for some skill or something that you put them in a training school as such to develop. And that is what we did not see. And that's what we come out and say, in all the passion and the good that you do, it backfired in a sense because there was no consultation. You just do on your own. And that's what we see. We say now, it seems as the Ministry of Education, they're doing things that they're just doing. So they have it in mind and they have it in such, and they're just doing it. And it doesn't go down well for the union, for parents and everybody. The whole nation will be thankful for the children going into secondary school. But at the same time, these are citizens' taxpayers' monies. And you have to make sure that whatever you do, it is properly planned, well executed. And I think the citizens of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit-Matic will appreciate it if the foundation and everything is in proper place and proper order. So you can say, yes, from 2024 or 2025, we are confident that we have everything in place to send all the children who did CPA to send them in secondary school. Unfortunately, the negative comment I heard from some of the students now who are in the primary school who did not do CPA as yet, the first comment was, well, they don't have nothing to work hard again and worry about again because everybody going to secondary school. And when I heard that, that in itself could backfire and create problems for teachers in schooling, because a lot of children now, they know that they no longer have to beat up themselves or work hard to pass CPA. They're going in secondary school anyway. So if we have that kind of mentality in our education system, we're in trouble. So I do believe that, yes, the children should be still working hard to be adequately prepared and everything. And if the children know that if one or two didn't do too well and they stay back and such, it might motivate and encourage them to do much better. All we're calling for is proper planning. And if this government want to go ahead with transformation in education, they have to take it and get it right, But to be honest, I might say something here and it might sound a little bit harsh, but really and truly, and a lot of persons have been saying that behind the scene, the NDC administration do understand there are a lot of people outside there in our society who are really looking for them to be successful, but they're watching on the side. They may not come out in the public, but a lot of persons are scrutinizing and watching the Ministry of Education and Education. The first thing when this government came into power, I did say on a program, the biggest challenge for them is education, and probably they didn't understand it. What persons are saying, yes, the government are doing things, free education, free this, probably free that, but we have not already felt the real change and transformation in education in the Ministry of Education to see how we're going forward. And that could be some problem there, which means that the Honorable Deacon Mitchell have to take control of these things and to watch what is going on. If you want to develop your nation and you want to go forward in education, you must set it right. You must have your long-term goal. You can't just do things here, there, and everywhere. And if we want our country to develop holistic development, put education, put a plan for long-term planning, agriculture, agro-processing, utilizing your agricultural-based secondary production, make your people study in all different directions so you know you have a plan, not just one set of people studying in everything here. Have a long-term plan, just as the revolution, which was the best in Grenada, and teach us the example how our country could develop. Our country could develop. The revolution showed that, It's just that these all crop of politicians probably don't have the vision and the insight and the foresight to really have that level of planning as what we saw the revolution, even if nobody don't want to talk about it. And I think we see something in probably the Honorable Deacon Mitchell that probably have a plan or something that would cause our country to develop and our country to grow. But if they don't put it right and get everything together, it means that we'll go forward and we will not harness our talents and all those things that we can do with our fuelest potential to take Grenada forward. So let's work, let's plan together and such, and let's get it right for CPA. Let's build more skills training center and a number of different things. And let's get together and have a long-term goal for education and education transformation through Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Matnick skills training and all those things in every direction. You want a tile, somebody to put tile, they don't have the accreditation, they don't have the certificate. You want a plumber, they doing it, they don't have the certificate. You want this and this workman, they don't have that skill, they don't have that certificate. You have to send you in a hotel, the manager or somebody have to be somebody out of Grenada. Does it mean that Grenada doesn't have the potential? Does it mean that we don't have intelligent people here who have the capability and the capacity to do well? It's just because we don't have it right. Barbados and everybody setting the example. Let's sit down. Let's have a national symposium. Let's see all the things that we need to take a country forward in skills and in everything. Plan for it and let's do it. And we will see that our country could grow and will grow, it will excel and it will be better off. We may not see the benefit, but our children and our children's children.
All right. I have one final question for you before we entertain a couple of calls. The illegal transferring of teachers, that seemed to be another issue that seemed to be, that is, of course, of taking into consideration. What's your views on that in terms of the illegal transferring of teachers?
Yes, I think we have a problem there. Now, the Ministry of Education, they know in the Education Act that they have the ability to transfer teachers. But it's becoming a plague and a menace now that teachers are calling from here, there, and everywhere and saying that DEOs just tell me, the DEO call the school and say, you have to transfer to this school and you have to transfer to this school. And I don't think in this day and age, I don't think that is proper and right at all. There must be merit in transferring. And the teacher, yes, the ministry can transfer, but the teacher also have the right now to say, no, why is the reason why you are transferring me? For what reason you are transferring me and everything like that? So the teacher has a say. So I'm not against, in the sense, transferring there from time to time. That person has to be transferred and must be merit. But there must be some paper trail, and also if you're transferring a teacher, then some letter should come from the Ministry of Education or the Public Service Commission or somewhere officially to state you're transferring and you're going to school X or school Y or school thing more than the DOs. And it's been coming. What I'm saying here, we want the government to take a note of it. We're not against DOs, but there are a lot of things that come into school, and it seems, I don't know if it's from since the previous administration coming into this administration, we lose the norm and the proper way of the adequate communication. A lot of communication to school now is WhatsApp message to the principal, do this and do that. The DEO saying do this and do that. No paper trail, no nothing. And that has to stop. You have to go back to the official way of communicating. So if you want to transfer a student, a teacher, they must get it in writing so they could go back and they could look at the data, the evidence, what they could show it. And that's what we see. And it seems to be happening now on a trend. It used to happen before. We're not saying that person from time to time can be transferred. But transfer is not something that could just force on people against the will and those things like that. Although the Ministry of Education has the ability and the power to transfer. Let's do it right, because some teachers are crying out, oh, for that week there, I was away and such, and people been calling me away, teachers. You know, they just get a call from the DU or to the principal. Sometimes the principal don't even know what's going on. They just say about transfer, and they have to facilitate it. And those things just making teachers sad. It must be on merit. It must be justified, and all those things like that. If you have to transfer for some reasons because there is a better space or another opportunity for a school, then that must be communicated so that you fully understand in writing. And I think it will be better appreciated. And better appreciated if it comes from the Ministry of Education or probably the Public Service Commission, than somebody, the middleman, just send you a text or a message or the DU and saying you must do this and you must do that. And that's what we're calling for.
All right. Mr. Bartholomew, I've said to say about we are strapped for time. An extra 10 minutes, and we already forego on that extra 10 minutes. So I'm going to ask you for some closing comments, and we're going to wrap today's program. And my apology for the callers. We've been having lots of folks calling in, but we couldn't entertain them this morning. Our apology for the callers who've been trying to get through. So some closing comments before we take a wrap this morning, sir.
Lastly, I'm saying that the teachers, the Ministry of Education did promise teachers that they will go to Teachers College this year. and teachers from both primary and secondary was looking high hopes to go to teachers college. Teachers want to be trained. They want to be trained to teach the nation's children. And they are very, very disappointed that so far they haven't heard anything about teachers college for this year. There is a batch of teachers in teachers college. The government did announce that basically tuition and everything will be free. And for somehow this batch of teachers, they are in teachers college, they are students too, and they are having a problem where they have been called upon by TAMCC to pay the fee and such for tuition, and they say no, and we say no because the government did say from this year that it will be free, and they are students while in teachers college too. So there are some issues in teachers college there. There are some issues also in teachers college, in lecturers at TAMCC with the 4 increase in salary payment for teachers at TAMCC. The teachers have gotten their monies, but the lecturers at TAMCC, they haven't gotten anything as yet, and they also are part of this agreement. So we calling on the government of Grenada, we calling on the principal of TAMCC and other persons to honor the commitment to the lecturers and I guess PW workers at TAMCC too, so that they could get a due compensation of the 4%. And very quickly, there are some teachers, even if the government, and I want to call and show some appreciation to this administration, with the 4% increase, they paid it very quickly. And they did a wonderful job. Where we having a problem, we have to be going to the accountant general, going to the Ministry of Education, going here and there, because a lot of teachers seems to did not get their monies on time, and still there are some teachers who did not get the retroactive payments. And even if they get some of the retroactive payments, the 4% did not wasn't part of the increase, the salary increase and everything, and done right. So there are still some issues to be worked on. I know the government, they don't like that because they are very proud in terms of what they do, honoring the payment and everything, and they try to do a very good job in paying the teachers and paying everybody. And too much a late payment for our teachers. Teachers are crying out. September, you appoint new teachers. That's why this contracting must come to an end. You contract the teachers in September, October, November, December, even January, they can't get paid. Poor teachers, they crying, they stress out. They saying it affecting them psychologically. Last year we had to deal with that. Too much a delay and length of time in which you confirm the teachers who were in the system already, they were in the system already, and because of contract, the contract come to an end. Why is it that you have to take all this length of time in this modern time to pay the teachers 4-5 months after they cannot meet the commitment? Banks calling them, they feeling embarrassed with the credit union and other persons because they cannot meet the commitment in terms of the payment and everything. So I take the opportunity, I thank you for this program. I thank the nation, and I ask the nation to rally and to support the nation's students, to rally and support our teachers. We mean very well for us. Lastly, the violence against our teachers, Mr. Bruntley from St. Andrew, the deaths, teachers, and we've been crying out to that. Give me one more minute, because we observe a trend in Grenada with the uptake in violence, and the government have to be very, very careful with that. We can't have a nation, you must cop that, because if you have a violent country, it will create problem for your transformation agenda and all the plans you have to develop. They must be controlled. We're calling on the Deacon Mitchell administration to really and truly curb this level of violence and deaths in Grenada. It is sad. I express my deepest sympathy and condolence to Mr. Buntley's family. They are hurting. Teachers are hurting. And I do hope and pray that the Ministry of Education will give all teachers a half day to attend this funeral for a fallen comrade who basically a very good young man, does everything right, trying to help these students, trying to help and make a better life, and his contribution to education. And look at how he was brutally murdered. It's sad. And we have been going to the Ministry of Education with violence in school against teachers. That's becoming a trend. Certain schools all over the country, children, young children, we don't know what is happening after COVID, that young children are attacking, parents are coming in school and trying to fight and attack. Not all parents, there are very good parents who discipline their children and support the nation teachers, and would never allow that to happen. So we applaud the parents of our country who rally and would never accept that. But there are some violence and something in schools that we see a trend, people coming in school to fight against teachers, and we say no to that, and we ask the government, the Ministry of Education, to deal with this thing. Thank you so kindly for allowing me and affording me the opportunity, and I wish us all the best for a successful school year, and may God bless us all.
Thank you also, Mr. Bartholomew. Of course, we really exceeded time this morning, but thank you a whole lot for coming and sharing information. We may have to do another program because there's certainly lots more that could be said that we didn't really get in this morning. I want to thank all listeners and viewers who were part of To The Point this morning. And my apology for the callers who were trying to get through and didn't get a chance this morning, but just had to give Mr. Bartholomew the opportunity to express all that he had to say. Until another edition of To The Point, most likely next week. Have yourself a great weekend to come. And that's why I said goodbye. Thank you once again, Mr. Bartholomew. Have yourself a good day. And goodbye to all listeners and viewers.